Bonjour class, today we're learning the Passe Compose with être. In today's lesson we'll talk about when to use être in the Passe Compose and how to use être in the Passe Compose. So to start off we need to know when to use it. For some verbs you use être instead of avoir as the helping verb in the Passe Compose. So right now we've only learned Passe Compose is avoir conjugated plus a past participle, but sometimes you would use être instead. The times where you use this usually is when you are putting a verb in the past that has to do with arriving at or leaving a place. You can remember all of those verbs with the mnemonic device Dr. and Mrs. P. Vandertramp. Sounds random, but I swear it'll make sense. Here are those verbs. So any of the verbs that we list that make up this mnemonic device, this acronym, will take être instead of avoir as the helping verb in the Passe Compose. And these verbs are devenir, which means to become, revenir, which means to come back, monter, which means like to go up the stairs, rester, which means to stay, sortir, which means to go out or to leave, partir, which means to leave, venir, which means to come to a place, aller, which means to go, naître, which means to be born, descendre, which means to go downstairs, entrer, which means to enter, rentrer, which means to re-enter, because that re right before it means to do again, tomber, which means to fall, retourner, which means to return, arriver, which means to arrive, mourir, which means to die, and passer is to pass. So any of these verbs will use être instead of avoir as the helping verb. And what we mean by that is that you use it the place you would normally use avoir in the Passe Compose. So in this case, you would have the subject, and then you would have the conjugation of être, and then you would have the past participle. The past participles are the same when être is the helping verb as when avoir is the helping verb, so still use all the past participles that you have memorized. But with être as the helping verb, the past participle needs to agree with the subject of the sentence in terms of gender and number. So that means if the subject of a sentence is feminine, we need to add an E at the end of the past participle, and if the subject is plural, we need to add an S. So let's go over a few examples. He went to the beach. Went is going to be the past tense of to go, which is aller, which is one of our Vandertramp verbs. So we know that it'll be il est allé à la plage. We use the same past participle that we normally would for aller, just instead of il a allé, we change it to il est allé to use être instead of avoir. But if we change it to she went to the beach, now our subject is feminine instead of masculine. So we need to add an extra E at the end of the past participle, only because it's feminine and because our helping verb is être. To say I fell, that would be the Passe Compose of tomber. So it would be je suis tombé. But if it was we fell, it would be nous sommes tombés with an S at the end here. So notice how each of these times we have the same structure. You have a helping verb conjugated in the present tense. Then you have the past participle. Sometimes we're just adding a little bit more than we're used to, only for when it's conjugated with être. When it's conjugated with avoir, you don't need to worry about this extra E and this extra S. Et ça c'est le fin. Make sure that you have all of the definitions for the Vandertramp verbs written down in addition to just what appears on the screen.